Hello again, my DIY loving friends. I'm Sarah, and this is Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together, and where we're turning budget finds into designer dreams. Today, we're diving into the world of Dollar Tree wood items to create 3 stunning high-end home decor pieces. Whether you're a seasoned DIYer or just looking for a fun project, these crafts will add a touch of elegance to your home without breaking the bank. So what are we waiting for? Let's go DIY together. For this DIY, I'm using a bunch of these wood craft sticks I got at Dollar Tree, and I've trimmed them down to the length of 2 tumbling tower blocks. I'm using some super glue wood glue, also from Dollar Tree, and I'm gluing 2 of the craft sticks together to make them thicker, using some of these little metal clips to hold them together as they dry. I need 11 of these 2 craft stick sets for this DIY, so I'm using 22 cut craft sticks to make the 11 sets of 2. I'll be using a total of 62 of these natural color tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and I'm mostly going to be using them in sets of 2 blocks that are glued end to end. Ultimately, we are using 38 of the 62 total blocks used to make into sets of 2 blocks. We're going to be using 19 of those sets of 2 blocks. I take what would be 2 sets of 2 blocks, and I'm going to attach them together, one on top of another, to create one set of 4 blocks, as you see right here. Then I make another set of 4, which would also be made from 2 sets of 2 blocks, but this time they're sandwiched one on top of the other, as you see here. We will be making 2 of these sets of 4, which will be the 2 legs of the DIY. Aside from all of those sets of 2, I am also going to be making this set of 12 blocks in 2 rows of 6 blocks that are attached side by side. And then the 2 sets of 6 will be attached together also side by side. I add a set of 2 blocks attached end to end on both sides of the 12 block set to complete it as a base for the project. And off camera, we'll be making a second set just like this one to use as the top of the project. Both base and top are identical. I mixed equal parts of hot water and instant coffee to make a stain to stain all my pieces with a warm brown sheer wood tone. I start by painting both the large base and then the matching top piece on all sides and on all the edges, followed by the one set of 4 blocks, as you see here, also on all the sides and the edges. I stain the 2 legs that were made with the 2 sets of 4 blocks, followed by all my many sets of 2 blocks. Everything stained on all sides and all the edges and the ends. I use a dry paper towel to soak up all the excess liquid. I also stain the 11 sets of 2 craft stick pieces with the instant coffee as well. Same as everything else on both sides and then on all the edges and on all the ends. To begin assembling, I turn my base piece upside down, and on the bottom, I glue one craft stick set on both ends on top of the 2 block sets on the ends of that. Then glue 2 additional 2 block sets on top of the craft stick pieces on both sides. I hope that makes sense to you. Then I flip the whole thing over, and those block sets and craft stick pieces will be on the bottom of the base. With my base right side up, I'm going to begin building up one side of my project. I'm alternating gluing down a craft stick set and then a 2 block set on top of that. In total, I'll be using 7 of my 2 block sets on this side, all alternating with craft stick sets to create a space in between each of my block sets. I stopped building up that side after I've added 3 of the 2-block sets, and I glue down the 2 legs that I made with the sets of 4 blocks. I glue them standing up on the opposite sides of the project base. I continue building up the 2-block side using 4 more sets of 2 blocks, and I'm still alternating with a craft stick set between each until I've added 7 of these 2-block sets in total, and each of them has a space in between the rows from my craft stick pieces. I glue the 4-block front piece that we made earlier in between the front leg and the 2-block built up side and give it a couple of minutes for the glue to set up. Lastly, I glue 2 final sets of craft sticks on top of both sides of the piece, and then I glue the top piece we made that matches the base piece, attaching it to the 2 craft stick sets, so the top now has the same amount of space between it as the wall of 2-block sets that we built. Hopefully that all makes sense to you. Everything is coordinated. And this is my gorgeous modern tumbling tower block riser or pedestal. I really love the look of this decor piece. It looks so finished and upscale. Love the spaces in between the rows of blocks. Love the difference in texture between the 2 sides. A truly awesome tumbling tower block DIY. For this DIY, I've got this shallow square wood box from Dollar Tree. And we'll be using 12 of the natural color tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree, and I'll be cutting both ends of all 12 blocks on a 65-degree angle using this miter shears from Amazon, which I'll link for you below. I painted the box with this Rust-Oleum white gloss spray paint, which I'll link for you below. And because I have to be totally transparent with all of you, I had to cut and assemble these 12 blocks more than once because of my lack of geometry skills, or I'm just not that bright. But I had to recut some of the blocks because I didn't cut the 65-degree angle in the right direction in some cases. I could flip the blocks over in places, but I did have to recut several blocks, and then I had to break apart and re-glue some of the blocks. I'm making 2 sets of 6 blocks to use as 2 legs for the project, and the angles should fit together. I'm going to show you on the video which were correct and which were not. So feel free to pause the video to follow along with the correct cuts and placements, or maybe you're just smarter than me. You can figure it out the first time around. No, I'm not proud of myself, just in case you were wondering. And here are both legs after being corrected. I used some Minwax wood filler, which I will link for you below, to fill in all the cracks between the blocks in an effort to give them all a more solid wood look, and then allowed them to dry for several hours. Once dry, I used a sanding sponge to sand down the wood filler until all the filler areas were smooth. I'm using some Folk Art Antique Wax to paint both of the tumbling tower block legs, and I add a little extra wax on the areas with the filler to try and even out the color differences between the filled and the unfilled areas on the blocks, wiping away the excess wax with a dry paper towel. I had already measured the center of the 2 sides of the gloss white box, and I use E6000 glue to attach my tumbling tower block legs to the outside of the 2 sides of the box, centering them to be halfway between the top and the bottom edge of that side of the box, and allowed it to dry overnight. And this is my ultra modern wood box riser, and I think this super easy DIY really packs a punch. Not including my poor geometry skills. It takes next to nothing in supplies and effort, but it really delivers in modern style and sleek sophistication, the perfect kind of DIY. For this DIY, I've got these 3 wood rings, like the kind you can get at Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut 2 of the 3 rings into a C shape. I marked them with a pencil where I want to cut, and I'm using my favorite clipping shears from Amazon. I'll link them for you below. So I'm going to end up with a backwards C, and then an O, and then a forward C, as you see right here. To attach my 3 shapes together, I'm using this Starbond super glue gel, but you can also use the super glue from Dollar Tree to do this as well. I use a ruler to try and keep them as straight as I can to attach them. I'm using 2 of these wood rectangles that come in a pack of rectangles from Dollar Tree. And for one of the rectangles, I've cut a bunch of wood craft sticks, also from Dollar Tree. I've trimmed them to fit around the outside of one of my rectangles, creating a frame to fit around it. And I attached the pieces of craft stick using some super glue, wood glue from Dollar Tree. And I allow the framed in rectangle to fully dry. I'm using this apple barrel black acrylic paint, which I will link for you below, to paint the second rectangle, painting both sides and all of the edges thoroughly. I use the same black paint to paint the 3 attached wood shapes generously. Then I turn my attention to the first wood rectangle that we've framed in with the craft sticks, painting the inside of that rectangle and the inside of the craft sticks and their edges, giving that a little time to dry before moving on. I flip it over and paint the outside craft sticks as well as the top surface of the rectangle, making sure that all my pieces are fully covered with black paint, and set them all aside to fully dry. I grab some jute twine from my stash, like the kind you can get at Dollar Tree, and using some hot glue to secure it, I'm going to wrap the jute around the connections between the C shapes and the O shape on both sides, wrapping it about 5 times or so around both connections, and then securing the end with some more hot glue. I also wrap the jute around the bottom and the top middle of that wood ring, the same way as I wrapped the connected areas, so that they will all coordinate and all match. I marked the center of the flat rectangle with a pencil, and using some E6000 glue, I glue the bottom of the 3 shapes down onto the center of the flat rectangle and allow the glue some time to set. I grabbed a scrap piece of jumbo craft stick and used some hot glue to attach it to the top edge of my 3 shapes, which I had off camera used some painter's tape to hold down onto the rectangle base while they fully dried. Lastly, I used some E6000 glue on top of that jumbo craft stick piece and placed my framed-in rectangle centered onto the craft stick covered shapes, and I allowed the entire thing to fully dry overnight. And this is my wood ring, jute, and rectangle riser. And how cute is this? Totally reminding me of a stunning console table in miniature, which I guess is a running theme for me. Let me know in the comments if you agree. But I think the rounded shapes, black color, and the jute contrast totally works for this modern wood decor piece. Classic and classy, and made entirely out of Dollar Tree wood. A true designer style dupe. And there you have it, from Dollar Tree to designer. These wood DIYs prove that you don't need to spend a fortune to have a high-end home. If you've enjoyed these projects, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your crafty friends. Don't forget to subscribe to Medicated Housewife DIY for more creative and budget-friendly decor ideas. Let me know in the comments which DIY was your favorite and why. You know I love hearing from all of you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember that together we're making the world a more beautiful place, one DIY at a time.